Hey folks, it's me, author H.L. Burke, and this one's a little bit different. This is only my second Deliberating Dragons video, and I thought I would do something about favorites and my favorite TV shows. And these are TV shows which, for whatever reason, are important to me. Some of them for nostalgic reasons, some of them because I think they're well done, others because they just hit a chord with me personally. And I decided to do a top 5. At first I thought it would be really hard to narrow it down to top 5, but then I realized I didn't have enough that were clear winners to make a top 10 because I'm pretty picky. And I do watch a lot of TV that I regret. I will admit that. There are certain shows that I watch and I know they're not very good from a lot of standpoints. I could mention some I would probably tick people off. Like I watch some reality shows, mostly cooking competitions. And then I watch some a lot of crime procedurals, which are basically all the same, but I don't really think they're, with the exception of CSI New York. I almost put that in the top 5 because I do have a really weird thing for Gary Sinise. Nobody solves crime like, how's it go? Nobody solves murders like I do, except for Gary Sinise. That's a quote from one of the other shows that it's going to be on the list later. If you know that, congratulations. But anyway. So there were some things like that that I thought about including, but then I thought I'm going to just include shows that are very important to me. Shows that I was sad when they went off the air, shows that I would like to see brought back, shows that are still running and that I get excited every time I hear there's a new episode. And so to begin with, I am going to start with a show that just recently went off the air. And that makes me sad to think about it because it started out so good. And the reason this is only at the number 5 slot, Castle. Castle started off so strong. It had so many good leads and it didn't mess around with a lot of drama. It was very light and very, happy. And there were some, ongoing plot threads that were a little bit daytime soap. But for the most part, it had the greatest sense of humor. And Nathan Fillion plays a very likable lead. And it was a good show, and it was quotable, and I enjoyed Castle for about 7 seasons. Late in the game, I guess when they got married, that's sort of a spoiler, but if you've been following the show, you know that anyway. It kind of took a turn, and it's like they thought, oh, well, we don't have the on-again, off-again, like, will they, won't they, so we need something else to mix it up. But they totally missed the point of the show, and they had the weirdest subplots and dramas, and it just did not work. There are like 3 shows I can list that I was relieved when I heard they got canceled, and Castle is one of them. I was literally relieved when I heard it got canceled because I didn't want them to, I didn't want to ruin it any further, especially after the thing with the female lead leaving in the last season. But anyway, the other 2 shows that I was relieved when I saw were canceled for different reasons were Burn Notice and House. House because it was starting to get kind of weird, and Burn Notice because they'd taken that storyline as far as they could, and I really wanted to see it end. But not in a bad way, I wanted to see it end in a good way. And it did, I like that ending. So, my number 4 pick, let me go this again. I do not have a DVD case to show for this, but I have my TARDIS mug. Now, I don't have any DVDs, like I said. I'm a fairly new Whovian, and I haven't watched any classic yet. I need to. It's on my to-do list, but there is a lot, and it is overwhelming to think of having to spend days and days of your life in front of the TV to catch up with how much classic Who they are. I mean, if I wanted to catch up with, I don't know, any other show, it would be a couple weeks worth of investment. I watch a couple episodes a night. Doctor Who, it's big long-term commitment. But I do love the quirk of that show. It's really influenced some of my writing, and I like that it takes weird things and then kind of humanizes them. And I like some of the messages. I think sometimes the writing isn't as good as it deserves to be for the show. So that's one of my main reasons. I think that especially in recent episodes, they've been more about moments and memes and big flashy things than they are about actual stories. Which is a shame because it did have some really good storyline, but it's still a very entertaining and fun show, and it's still emotionally impactful odd. So that's my number 4. My number 3, I also do not have anything to hold up. I'm sorry, I don't own Voyager on DVD. And Voyager, Star Trek Voyager, is there mainly because of nostalgia appeal. I was not a Trekkie for most of my life. When I was very little, I watched an episode of Star Trek Generations that scared the heck out of me, and I thought I would hate that kind of thing. And then when I got into Voyager, it was kind of a nice ease in, and Voyager is kind of a little bit corny, a little bit cheesy. It's very light. It doesn't tackle as many serious issues as you find with, I would say, Star Trek Generations. But it's a lot of fun, and I love Janeway as a captain. And my favorite characters, I love Tom Paris, I love B'Elanna, I love Seven of Nine, I love the Doctor. The Doctor is great. And yeah, one of the main reasons I got on Twitter was so I could start, put all those guys on my follow lists. So I found out they were there. And Voyager, I think that I kind of got into that because it let me see science fiction as kind of a more adventurous. I love the playful aspects. I love the holodeck, and I like the humor. And so that's a big favorite of mine. I know some of the other Star Trek movies are probably a little bit more better done. Star Trek TV shows, I should say. But Voyager's my baby. And it's what I cut my Star Trek teeth on, and that's what I like. Okay, so moving on to number 3. Where is it? Oh wait, sorry, that was number 3. Voyager was number 3. This is number 2. Now this is the only show on this list that is still on the air, so if you haven't watched it yet, you need to go watch it so that it stays on the air for me, please. Pretty please. Grimm. I just get gleeful when I think about Grimm. Grimm is awesome. Grimm takes like fairy tale and stuff and puts it in horror cliches. It's set in Portland, which is my home state, and it's so much like you watch it like, I've been there, I've been to that place. But the characters are so much fun, and the thing is they have believable arcs. I mean, and they change, yes, over the time, but they change in believable ways. There are a couple things I don't like about this show, and one of them is the character of Juliet was never a fan of mine. I was actually kind of relieved when what happened to her at the end of last series, and then when that unhappened to her, it was kind of disappointing. But I love Monroe, Nick's best friend, and Rosalie. I love the humor. I love how it very self-referential. They like wink at all the time, especially with characters like Wu is like, oh yeah, of course we're gonna do this. I love that kind of humor. I love that it's a show that stays pretty consistent with characterization and plot. So much so that my husband and I call it, when they have these rare episodes that don't show up, it's like, Nick would never do that, because we have a feel for these characters and we know when they're being off themselves. And I think that's good. And not every episode is a perfect thing, but of all the TV that is on today, Grimm is the one that I want to stay on. And besides that, the guys, both Nick and Renard are both really good looking. Just for my taste. Hank's not so bad either, but he's not in my realm of taste. He's a little older. Anyway, not my type. Renard is also a little older, but he's also kind of scary, and I kind of like scary. Anyway, and I don't think there's going to be any surprise for the number 1 here. I don't think there is. In fact, I wore my Certified Psycho t-shirt because that's my favorite. You want to see him? Seasons 1 through 9. Why did it have to end? Okay, here's Psych. I'll just hold up one. Psych. And there's so many reasons why I love Psych. And well, my other ones are all, there's, most of my picks, if you'll notice, are either science fiction, fantasy types. With this exception as Psych. And why Psych? It's because it is so much fun. I mean, the premise is this character who doesn't take anything seriously. Sean Spencer is my spirit animal. I wish I could be Sean Spencer. I wish I could just let go and just totally play everything by ear. Then he has so much confidence. He just walks into an area and he owns it. He can play anybody. He can be anybody. And he's got a one-liner ready for everything. And he's so worried about things that like music and food and entertainment and stuff that he doesn't take, everything else is just a game to him, and life is a game, and things are about how cool they are and how fun they are. And he takes this really over serious, over the top, really formulaic genre of the murder mystery, and they turn it into something so fun. Now, how I found Psych is kind of different. I was pregnant with Corinne, and Matt, my husband, was in Iraq, and I was staying with my grandparents who had satellite, I think. But anyway, because of that, I spent a lot of time alone, and a lot of times I would stay up and late because I couldn't sleep real well, and I would turn on the TV, and I started watching Monk. And after Monk, there was this show on I'd never heard of, and it was Psych. And the first episode I ever watched was a show called, an episode called Dislodged. It's like the second to last penultimate episode in season, I want to say 2. Anyway, in this episode, there's this point where Sean has one of his fake psychic visions, and I don't know where he goes, "Invite the hole from the halls of Montezuma," and just starts quoting the Marine Corps hymn. And for whatever, because my husband's a Marine, it's a silly thing, but that was like, made me watch. And I started watching, and the next one was Shaun and Gus of the Dead, which is one of the best episodes ever. There's this montage of Sean just goofing off around this museum trying to hide from the security cameras, and he's like putting trash cans over his head and carrying a furt around and just being a basic man-child. And I was in love with the show, and so I started looking up, I started going back, and we had Netflix at the time, I started going back through season 1, and eventually we worked our way up until I was, a long time. I worked my way up to catch up, and then I was watching them as they came out. I was so disappointed when that show got canceled, because unlike some other shows, that could have gone on for a long, long time. It had a ton of potential. There's a lot of the things that they did were things that other crime-solving shows did when they were running out of ideas and were just kind of being ridiculous. Like the weatherman dying on camera. I think that was afterwards copied by both CSI and Castle. They both did episodes like that. And Castle even had the same show name for it, Cloudy with a Chance of Murder, I think is both a Castle episode and a Psych episode, but Psych did it first. I mean, they would put themselves in these ridiculous situations, and it was just so much fun. And that could have gone on forever. There wasn't anything that said that show had to leave. I know they did wrap up a lot of the plot lines as far as the relationships went, but really the primary relationships in that were ongoing relationships. They weren't like the will they won't they of Schools was fun, but I like seeing them interact as a couple. I didn't think that needed to be all tense and bad to continue on. So yeah, I would love to see a Psych the movie, maybe a wedding one with maybe poor Gus finally getting a girl. But anyway, so those are my top favorite TV shows, and thank you for watching.